The Appalachian Cultural Music Association is an all-volunteer nonprofit organization preserving and promoting the history of bluegrass, old-time, and country music. The ACMA maintains the Mountain Music Museum and Gift Shop at 626 State Street in downtown Bristol, Tennessee, Virginia, and also presents the weekly Monday night Pickin' Porch concerts at the Foundation Event Facility located next door to the Mountain Music Museum. Concerts begin at 7 p.m. every Monday evening. For information, visit mountainmusicmuseum.org. That's mountainmusicmuseum.org. In the heart of downtown Bristol, visit ACMA's Mountain Music Museum and Gift Shop. Admission is free.
In 1974, my mom, Jeanette Carter, started presenting music shows of bluegrass and old-time music, acoustic music here in this building we're in, the A.P. Carter Grocery. Those shows quickly outgrew this one-room building, and in 1976 they moved to the Carter Fold. The Fold is a large building that my Uncle Joe designed and built as the theater for the music shows. And in the beginning, I guess it would seat around 700 comfortably. He built a pretty large building. And this became the Carter Family Museum. The grocery was converted into a museum.
The Carter Fold is just an institution. It's almost like sacred ground. You know, people come here. Literally, it can draw people on its own from all over the world. The people that know the Carter family music, it's very dear. It's a very cherished thing for them, and they just want to come and see where that music was born that had such an impact on America's music, on country music, and so forth.
The Carter Fold is one of the greatest places in the world to perform music. I've been performing there, I guess, since I first came to the ETSU Bluegrass program back in, I guess I've been playing there since I was 16 years old, maybe 15 or 16. And I've played there about every year, a couple times a year, ever since that point.
The reason my mom decided to begin having music shows in 1974 was because of a promise she made to her dad, A.P. Carter. He asked her on his deathbed if she would try to see that the music that he had been such a big part of all his life would continue. He wanted the Carter family's music to live on. So he asked her if she would try to preserve it. She agreed that she would try. Of course, my granddad passed away in November of 1960. And it took her a few years before she made up her mind just how she wanted to do that. When I was a little girl, I used to think that every family in Poor Valley had visitors who just came to their house and wanted to meet them. And I was a teenager before I realized that no, that wasn't the case. That not everybody had visitors from actually all over the world like we did. And I guess my mom thought, well, you know, they stopped by to visit, why not give them something to see? And Grandpa had left her this little store in his will. And I guess that was the only means she had to fulfill that promise, was to begin those music shows.
When Jeanette opened the A.P. Carter store, I believe it was 1974, if I'm not mistaken, occasionally she would bring a fairly well-known act up there, and that's when I saw my first professional act. Was Grandpa Jones at the A.P. Carter store, and I remember it was real crowded. I mean, that store building was small anyway, and it seemed like they might have been just a little late getting there or something. But I remember I was sitting there waiting for the show to start, and Grandpa and Ramona and their son Mark, and I think there was another band member. I'm not sure who it was. now at this time. But anyway, they came walking in carrying their instrument cases, and they walked right by me, you know. So I was like this close to Grandpa Jones.
That was one of the things that my mom worried about, was moving the music shows from this small one-room building we're in to the large building next door. She worried that we would lose that sense of closeness and that sense of just being at home. And it kind of felt like being at home on a Saturday night and just playing music in your house. I think she managed to keep that feel when we moved to the Fold building, but it is a little more difficult than when you're in a one-room setting. There were several artists who performed here when it was still the one-room performance theater, and I guess Grandpa Jones was one of those. He also performed in the Fold building once it was built.
I would rather play at the Carter Fold than anywhere else, to be honest about it, just because you have to approach it. You know, you have to approach it from a different angle, because it's one of those places that are the last of its kind. You know what I'm saying? You can't really find places like the Carter Fold that incorporate the dance and, you know, the friendship. It's like an old-timey Saturday night barn dance, you know, that people used to have 100 years ago or 150 years ago. But, you know, it's still going on today.
First played the Carter Fold, it must have been, it was way before Jeanette passed away. I mean, many years before she left us. I'm going to say probably maybe in the early 80s, late 70s, if I'm correct there. And over the years there, I'd played it a few times, you know, and it's a wonderful place. First time I ever played it, you know, it was pretty exciting to me, you know, to be around where the Carter family was from, and music that I had respected and grown up listening to, you know, the Carter family. And so it was real experience to me to be there with them, you know, that Jeanette and all her folks, and Joe and all the people there, you know, and it was really nice to meet them and be there and play at the Carter Fold.
I grew up going to the Carter Fold as long as I can remember. In fact, I don't remember the first time I went. My grandparents were Emory and Ethel Page, and they were from over in Robinette Valley, Virginia, and they always went. Now the Carter Fold, back then, before they installed these stadium seats in there, the elite got to sit in the bus seats, which were in the middle, and the rest of the public sat on these benches that were covered in carpet remnants, and they were all different colors, real bright colors. And I remember that from being little. And there was an old wood-burning stove in the corner. It always had a real special feel to it, and always family-oriented place you could bring your kids and spend the evening. My grandparents never missed a weekend there.
One of the first places that I went when I started getting interested in bluegrass was the Carter Fold. And the Carter Fold is just one of a very few places, I guess, in the country that has the atmosphere, and it's almost like, it's kind of like walking in the Grand Ole Opry when you walk in the Carter Fold. It's kind of the same type feeling.
The first time I came to the Carter Fold was about 15 years ago. And of course, Jeanette and Joe was still here. And when you grow up with the Carter family in your mind like I did, it's like, it was unbelievable for me to even just to get to come here and play, you know. It was such an honor for me. And then coming here and meeting Jeanette and Joe, you know, of course I would have loved to have met the original Carter family, but they were long gone. And that I was kind of nervous and scared, because it was huge for me to be able to play here at the Carter Fold, because we just kind of idolized the Carter family, you know.
Which is the first place I ever seen Kenny Baker and Josh Graves perform. And I also had the honor of seeing Tim White and his band Troublesome Hollow play in there at the time. I think it was my first or second year having gone to the festival, and Tim was there with a group he was getting ready to go on stage with. They didn't have a fiddle player, and it was a kind of a group that he had thrown together, and he asked if I would, like to play fiddle with them. And I said, well, of course. I don't know all your material, but I would love to. And he said, there'll be, would you like, would $50 be okay to pay you? And man, I lit up. I was like 11 or 12 years old. And I said, yeah, first time I had ever played on stage for money with a band before. And it was at the Carter Fold, and it was kind of surreal. Of course, I wasn't thinking as much about where I was at or what I was doing, rather than, okay, is these notes that I'm getting ready to play going to be right? Is these notes right? So my mind was more so on the music. But it was a great opportunity. It was a great learning experience.
I remember going to see my uncle. He used to clog with the Ryco Cloggers, and that year they actually got to perform for President Reagan, and they got to go dance on the Grand Ole Opry and under F.P. Sloan. And I remember going to see them clog at the Carter Fold when I was very young. And it was always very special to me. And it was just such an honor when I was older and started performing bluegrass to get to play there. And actually Joe Carter, he had written a song called Tell Me Why, and he played it for me one day and thought that I could sing it. So before he passed away, I got to play Joe's song, and I actually recorded that one on the Carter Fold stage. So that was a really special thing.
Well, I went back several times, and Jeanette would always have me come back, and play and bring my band, and she appreciated what I did. It's my music, it's pretty down to earth what I do, and pretty much. Some people call it the real deal. I don't know if it's a real deal or not, but I keep my music pretty much simple, and people can understand, not over people's heads, and just be myself and play and sing, and it was a wonderful place there to play. And I haven't been there in several years, but the last time I worked it, Johnny Cash came in June came in there, and he got up and sung some. We all played a little bit together. So that was the last time that I had played it.
When I first went to the Carter Fold, it was all bus seats and carpet on the benches to pat it, and it was kind of real down-home atmosphere, and dancers dancing while you're playing. Such a great atmosphere, and good folks that are up there. And so, over the years it's changed a little bit. They've got a little bit bigger. I think they've had some good generation of funds and been able to put in some better seating and stuff. But the feeling is still there. The atmosphere is still there. And Rita Forrester is really doing an excellent job carrying on what her mom and her family did for so many years, and that is to feature the area's music and the culture and the dancers. And they just do it every Saturday night, like it's, just like going to church on Sunday, to go to the Carter Fold on Saturday.
Always wanted to play there, and the first bluegrass band or two that I joined, we went up there and we played the break a time or two, but Carter Fold is not really an easy place to book. And so the first couple bands I played in, it was kind of our hope to play there, and we never did. And then I ended up, I've since then played there with several different bands, but when I joined Appalachian Trail back, I don't know, 12, 14 years ago or so, they had already been playing there for years on a regular basis, and from then on I played it several times a year usually, and that's always been one of my favorite places to play. It's always, there's always a good crowd. Everybody always really enjoys themselves there, and you see it's not just your regular bluegrass crowd. There's tour buses come in there. There's people from all different parts of the country, all different walks of life that come to the Carter Fold, and they all seem to really enjoy it. and it's just really a gem. It's really something that people in this area should be proud of, because it's something that's unique. People in any part of the country that know anything about country music or bluegrass music know about the Carter Fold, and it's just a really special place.
It's just always been a very unique place to be, and the thrill for me nowadays is to get to play for all the people and bring a lot of joy to the people of that area. And from abroad, people come in from everywhere to come to the Carter Fold, because to my knowledge, there's no other place like it. And it just, you come in and you feel, Jeanette, I know Jeanette always made sure that it was family oriented, no drinking. You had to abide by the rules there. And it was just like being at home, though. If you abide by those rules, then you had a good time.
When things started out, she really didn't have tremendous support. This is out in the country. You don't think of people coming this far out to hear music. You think of going to the city to hear a concert or see a big artist. You do that in a big venue. But she thought she could make it work here, and she did. Those shows have been presented for the past 37 years, and we're continuing those shows today.
Remember, every Monday night from 7 to 9 at 620 State Street in Bristol, Tennessee, at the Foundation Event Facility. Admission is free. We do ask for donations. Listen to this.
Flatt & Scruggs, Roy Acuff, the Carter family, Jimmy Rogers, the Stoneman family, the Stanley Brothers. See the history of these country and bluegrass artists and much more at the ACMA's Mountain Music Museum in the heart of downtown Bristol on the Tennessee side of State Street, country music's birthplace. Experience it at the ACMA's Mountain Music Museum. For information, visit our website at mountainmusicmuseum.org. That's mountainmusicmuseum.org in the heart of downtown Bristol. Visit the ACMA's Mountain Music Museum and Gift Shop. Admission is free.